I would give anything to go back to the moment before I opened that attic door. I would live the rest of my life in that carefully constructed paradise they built for me. If it meant I didn't have to know the truth. The ignorance was a blessing. The truth is a curse that I can never unlearn. It all started when I was 8. My parents, my real parents, were leaving for a vacation. I remember them being so full of life. My mom's laugh echoing as my dad promised to teach me how to fish when they got back. They were supposed to be gone a week, but a week turned into nearly a month. The neighbor grew worried. But Mikey and I just missed them. When they finally returned, they burst through the door with huge, dazzling smiles and arms full of gifts. The relief was immense. They hugged us so tightly I could barely breathe, and their energy was overwhelming. So bright and cheerful it seemed to fill every corner of the house. That night, Dad announced he'd been given a massive promotion, the only catch. We were moving to London. My world shattered. I threw myself on the floor, sobbing about my friends, my school, everything I'd ever known. My mother didn't get angry. She slid to the floor with me, her smile impossibly gentle, and pulled me into a hug that felt both warm and strangely cold. "Oh, my sweet boy," she cooed, her voice like honey. "Don't you see? This is an adventure. A whole new world, just for us. We'll be together, a family, starting fresh. It will be our secret, wonderful new life." She was so convincing, so full of radiant optimism, that my tears dried up. I started to believe her. I let her convince me that this was for the best. Life in London was perfect, too perfect. Our parents doted on us. We had new toys, fancy clothes, anything we wanted. They were always smiling, always happy, always planning fun family game nights. But we never left the house unless it was all together. And we never, ever spoke to our old family. When I asked about Grandma, Mom would just smile her brilliant smile and say, "We have each other, sweetie. That's all that matters." They built a bubble of happiness around us, and for years, I floated in it. One day in a park, an old woman saw me, and her face twisted in what I now know was terror. She opened her mouth, but Mom was there in a flash, her arm around my shoulders. "Oh, let's not bother the nice lady," she sang, steering me away. Her fingers dug into my shoulder, a silent, powerful warning beneath the sweetness of her voice. I forgot about it. I forgot all the little inconsistencies. I let the perfect, happy lie wash over me. Until the day I wanted to find an old baseball glove, and I remembered it was in the one place they never ever went, the attic. Finding that photo album felt like a gift. For a solid hour, I wasn't in our quiet London house. I was back in Ohio, running through sprinklers and climbing trees. I was lost in the warm, faded colors of a life I'd almost forgotten. I smiled, tracing the faces of my parents, the real, genuine smiles. I remembered the day my dad taught me to ride my bike, how he ran alongside me, holding the seat. I remembered my mom reading to me every single night, her voice soft and patient. It was a good feeling, a feeling of being home, even though I was just sitting on a dusty attic floor 1,000 miles away. I was so wrapped up in the nostalgia, I almost didn't notice the little things. The first was in a picture from my 6th birthday party. My dad was standing next to the back fence, grilling hot dogs. I remembered that fence. I remembered trying to climb it and my dad telling me to get down. It was just a little taller than him. I frowned. My dad, the dad who was currently downstairs, was tall, really tall. I shook my head. It was nothing. I was just a kid. My memory was probably playing tricks on me. I turned the page. My mom was sitting on my bed, a storybook open in her lap, and it hit me. No glasses, I tried to picture my mom without her thick black-rimmed glasses, and I couldn't. She was never without them. My eyes went bad right after the move, she'd always say cheerfully. All that English rain. It made sense. People's eyesight changes. It was logical. But still, a weird feeling began to prickle at the back of my neck. I didn't want to freak out. It was silly, but I couldn't shake it. I went downstairs and found Mikey. "Hey," I asked, trying to sound casual. "This is super random, but do you remember when Mom got her glasses?" He just shrugged. "Ages ago, Dino." His complete lack of concern should have made me feel better, but it didn't. The rest of the day I just watched him. I watched the way my tall father moved, the way my mother's glasses caught the light. Everything they did was normal. Their endless cheerfulness, their constant smiles. It was the same as it had been for 9 years. So why did it suddenly feel so unsettling? Why did their laughter sound just a little too loud? That night, I lay in bed, the images from the album swimming in my head. It wasn't suspicion, not yet. It was just a deep, profound confusion. A feeling that I was living in a story where a few key details had been rewritten. I got up, opened my laptop, and decided to start at the beginning. I typed my family's name into the search bar, then the name of our old town. I just wanted to see something familiar, something that felt real. The internet is a rabbit hole. For hours, I scrolled through a ghost of a life I used to live. Old articles about my elementary school's bake sale, pictures of neighbors' kids who were now strangers in college. It felt sad and distant, but it was real. It was a connection, a faint signal from a world I'd been cut off from. I was so engrossed, I didn't hear the floorboard creak outside my door. The handle turned, and my blood ran cold. I slammed the laptop shut just as my mom pushed the door open. Her smile was the first thing I saw, a bright white crescent in the dark. "Just doing some homework?" she asked, her voice impossibly cheerful. "I brought you some milk." I could feel my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest, but I just nodded, forcing a smile of my own. "Thanks, Mom." She set the glass down, her hand lingering on my shoulder. Her skin felt cool. My smart boy, always working so hard. She had no idea. Or maybe she did. For the first time, her sweetness didn't feel comforting. It felt like a threat. Going to school the next day was surreal. I was surrounded by people, but I had never felt more alone. My friends were talking about exams and parties, and it sounded like a foreign language. All I could think about was the height difference, the glasses, the gaping hole where my memories were supposed to be. I was living in a fog, and the only things that felt real were the inconsistencies. That night, we played a board game, one we used to play every Friday. My dad, my real dad, was a stickler for the rules. But when my father picked up a card, he just laughed and said, "You know, I've never quite gotten the hang of this game." He said it with his usual booming cheer, but to me it was like a siren going off. It was another crack in the facade. Later, my mom was humming in the kitchen while she washed dishes. It was a lullaby she sang to me when I was little. But she was humming it wrong. Just a few notes were off, but it was enough to make my skin crawl. I couldn't live with the doubt anymore. It was eating me alive. I had to know. I waited until I heard the click of their bedroom door, until the whole house was steeped in a heavy silence. Then I opened my laptop again. My hands were shaking. I wasn't just looking for a connection anymore. I was looking for an answer. I typed our last name, our old hometown, and the one word I was terrified of: missing. The results loaded instantly. The top link was from the local newspaper. The headline hit me like a physical blow. Local couple vanishes after announcing vacation plans. I clicked on it. The page loaded slowly, but the picture was clear enough. It was them. The smiling, happy, real faces from the photo album. My parents. My stomach dropped, and the last bit of denial I was clinging to evaporated. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a case of my memory being foggy. This was something else. Something terrible. The world just stopped. The words on the screen, vanishes. Vacation plans, police suspect, foul play, didn't feel real. But the picture did. The picture of my real mom and dad, smiling on their front porch, was terrifyingly real. My breath caught in my throat. A wave of ice and fire washed over me. I shoved the laptop away as if it were burning me and scrambled to the far corner of my bed. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. Who were the people downstairs? Who were they? I paced my room, my mind racing so fast I couldn't catch a single thought. They were imposters, they had to be. What did they do to my real parents? The questions were a swarm of bees in my skull. I had to do something. I had to tell someone. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my phone twice before I could dial. I hid in my closet, pulling the door shut, plunging myself into darkness. I called the police. When a calm voice answered, the story came tumbling out of me in a panicked, jumbled mess. My parents aren't my parents, I whispered, my voice cracking. They've been gone for 9 years. There's an article. Please, you have to help me. There was a long pause on the other end. Son, the dispatcher said, her voice flat. Are your parents home right now? Yes, but they're not them, I insisted. Sir, she said, her tone hardening. We don't have time for prank calls. Do not call this number again. The line went dead. The silence that followed was heavier than the darkness. I was alone. No one would believe me. I sat there on the floor, drowning in hopelessness, when I heard it. My mother's laugh, floating up from downstairs. So cheerful, so fake, and it sparked something in me, not just fear, but anger. I thought of the photo album. The faces of my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents. They had to know. They had to be real. I spent the next hour in a frantic online search, my hope dwindling with every click. My uncle's number was disconnected. My aunt's social media hadn't been updated in 6 years. It was like my entire family had been wiped from existence. I was about to give up when I found it. An old email from my grandma from my 10th birthday, buried deep in my inbox. And there, at the bottom, was her phone number. It felt like a lifeline. I dialed, expecting nothing. It rang, each ring echoing the frantic beat of my heart. I was about to hang up when the ringing stopped. A frail, shaky voice answered. ... Hello? It was her. It was really her. All I could manage to get out was a single, choked whisper. Grandma. There was a long silence on the other end of the line, so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, her voice, thin and crackling with age. Who is this? This is a private number. My own voice was a raw whisper. Grandma, it's me. I couldn't even say my own name. It felt like it belonged to someone else, to a boy in a photograph. I don't know any. Who is this? She asked again, her voice sharp with suspicion. The hope in my chest was collapsing. I had one shot. I desperately clawed at my memory, trying to find something only we would know. The wooden soldier, I blurted out, the words tumbling over each other. You carved me a wooden soldier for my 7th birthday. It had a little red hat. You told me he would keep me safe. The silence that followed was different. It was heavy with shock. I heard a sharp intake of breath, then a sound that might have been a sob. "Oh, my sweet boy," she finally whispered, her voice breaking completely. "Oh my God, it's you. It's really you. We thought you were dead. We thought they'd taken you and... Oh, my child, where are you?" Hearing her voice, her real voice, filled with real love, broke something in me. The story poured out of me in a torrent of hushed panic. The move, the weirdness, the photo album, the article. I told her about the people downstairs, my voice cracking with fear and confusion. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "They're not family," she finally said, her voice laced with a cold fury I'd never heard before. "After you left, we tried to call. The numbers were disconnected. Then, one day, your mother called me. But it wasn't her voice, not really. It was flat, dead. She said you were on a wonderful, once-in-a-lifetime trip, and that you wouldn't be able to talk for a very long time. She said not to call again. And then, nothing. 9 years of cheerful lies fell away, revealing an abyss. I wasn't on a trip. I was taken. Listen to me now," my grandma said, her voice suddenly strong, clear, and full of command. "This is what you are going to do. You will hang up. You will put the phone away. You will go to your bed and pretend you are asleep. In the morning, you will act normal. You will smile. You will do your homework. You will give them no reason to suspect anything. You cannot let them know you know. I will handle this. I'm going to call the police, the embassy, everyone. I will get you out of there. But you have to be strong, and you have to be smart. Can you do that for me?" I whispered that I could. We hung up. For a single second, I felt a surge of hope. I wasn't alone anymore. Then, the weight of what I had to do crashed down on me. I had to go back to pretending. I had to look into their smiling faces and act like their son. I heard a footstep in the hallway. The door creaked open. My father stood there, his silhouette filling the frame. "Everything all right?" he asked, his voice dripping with that familiar, false warmth. I thought I heard voices. My heart was a jackhammer against my ribs, but I held his gaze. "Just thinking," I managed to say, my voice sounding distant and strange. "Big test tomorrow." The thing wearing my father's face stared at me for a moment longer, its smile unwavering. Then it nodded. "That's my boy. Get some rest." I closed the door, and the mask of calm I was wearing shattered. I spent the rest of the night rigid with fear, waiting for the door to open again. The next day was the longest of my life. I had to pretend, had to act like the son they thought I was. At breakfast, my mother hummed her wrong lullaby. I smiled and said the pancakes were great. When my father left for work, I wished him a good day. I saw Mikey on the couch, mashing buttons on his controller. I wanted to scream at him to run, to hide. But I just said, "See you later, Mike." He didn't even look up. It was the last thing I'd ever say to him. That night, my performance finally failed me. We were watching TV, and when it ended, my reflection stared back at me from the dark screen. And for a fraction of a second, I saw them. The real them, reflected behind me. Their faces were long, distorted masks of gray skin. Their eyes dark empty pits, their smiles stretching into gaping black voids. It was a nightmare flicker, gone in an instant, but I had seen it. I gasped, a tiny, choked sound. It was enough. They both turned to me, their movements unnervingly synchronized. The smiles vanished. Their expressions were utterly blank, their eyes cold and ancient. "You saw, didn't you?" The thing in my mother's chair asked, its voice a dead, toneless hum. I didn't have time to scream. The other one was already on me, crossing the room in a blur. A shape that wasn't a hand swung towards me, and the world dissolved into blackness. When I woke up, the world was red and blue. The flashing lights of police cars filled the room. A man in uniform was crouched over me. "It's okay, son. You're safe." "Your grandmother called. She told us everything." The words barely registered. My head was splitting open. I pushed myself up, my eyes scanning the chaotic room. They were gone. The imposters were gone. But something else was wrong. The house was crawling with cops, but it was deathly quiet. A cold dread, worse than anything I'd felt before, seized me. "Mikey," I croaked. "Where's my brother?" The officer looked at me, his expression grim. I didn't wait for an answer. I ran. I ran up the stairs to his room, praying I was wrong. The room was empty. His controller was on the floor. His bed was perfectly made. They were gone. And they had taken the only real thing I had left. They had taken my brother. I had found the truth, but I had lost everything.